This is Beering Ain't Easy. Do you spend all week thinking about what new beer you'll try next? Then yeah, this podcast is for you. Come join us while we try new beers, share our ratings, debate craft beer culture, and in the process, throw a few jabs at ourselves. So crack one if you got one, and turn it up.
Welcome to Beering Ain't Easy, episode 22 with Adam and Drew.
All right, so Christmas is past us. We're about to bring on the new year. So getting close to New Year's Eve. What are your plans?
Watch football, number one. Drink beer, number 1A.
You're not hitting up the big New Year's Eve party this year? The COVID party?
Well, I do think we have to talk about how New Year's has changed from being a dad to the pre-dad life.
There's a big difference.
So what was a typical New Year's like for you before you had kids?
So when I think about New Year's, Meredith and I lived in Houston before. We lived in the Heights, and so we were close to, a cab ride away from any bar we wanted to go to. So we always did those all-inclusive bar packages where you drank whatever you wanted and you hope the cab got you home. That's how it was.
Yeah.
Oh, man. How about you? Is that how yours were before kids?
Oh, yeah. It was pretty sloppy.
In the suburbs?
In the burbs, we lived up to city life.
Yeah. As much as you can in the burbs. So how about post-kids? Like, what does your typical New Year's Eve look like?
It's changed. It's changed a bit.
Do you make it till midnight?
It's probably a 50-50 hit or miss.
Yeah. Since we're on the Central Time, I'm a fan of the East Coast 11 p.m. ball drop. So it's like, oh, it's 11? I'm going to bed. I saw it drop. We're done.
I mean, there is one big advantage of the post-kid life opposed to the pre-kid life. It's like one of my favorite days of the year is New Year's Day, watching all that college football. Mm-hmm. And like the first games always used to be miserable when you were hitting it hard till 3, 4, 5 a.m. Who knows? Now it's like the 10 a.m. game. You're waiting for it to come on for a couple hours.
Yeah. I feel like just New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, I'm usually done drinking at that point because like I feel like Christmas and Thanksgiving, there's just like a whole lot of concentrated drinking. And so I feel like I'm usually burnt out and I never want to do anything on actual New Year's Eve.
So are you saying you like don't ever drink beer on New Year's Eve or New Year's Day?
I'm saying I just take it real easy.
My youngest son's birthday is New Year's Eve.
And I think the only reason it's New Year's Eve is that you planned it so you could get a tax break by having a kid before the end of the year.
God bless Jody's doctor. So she had a C-section, and I already have a daughter whose birthday is January 9th. And like, I'm just talking to the doctor. I'm like, dude, don't do this to me. Like, it's like, he's like, yeah, we're going to do it January 2nd. I'm like, no, we're not. Please. I can't do that. It's not going to work.
Your tax situation influenced your kid's due date.
Yeah, but it's really in the best interest of the kids, because I'm going to die and pass on everything to them. And so the better off I am financially, the better off they are.
That's one way of thinking of it. So you can go back to your story.
So my story, we were just sitting there talking about like in our early 20s, like what we were like on our birthday. And it was like, we were a wild mess. Then think about like what we were like on New Year's Eve. It was like
a wilder mess.
So then if that wasn't enough, throw a little cherry on top that this is Carver, who is like the most rambunctious fucking animal that I've ever seen.
What if like he turns out when he's older to be like a model American, like super mild mannered, like risk averse? Like, wouldn't that be the weirdest thing?
Then I will demand you take all these podcasts off the air. Enough of this nonsense. What the heck are we talking about today?
So today is kind of an interesting topic. It's called the mysterious beer resale market.
Really?
Yeah, so this is like a whole side of craft beer that Adam and I like had no idea existed. It's like a beer underworld or like a beer mafia, Illuminati, you name it, where people go to these hyped new beer releases and they buy up bulk quantities of that beer, stealing it away from the local folks trying to get a new beer and reselling it for like 3 to 4 times the price.
Before you get going too much further, I need to crack a beer. Today, I'll be drinking Pixel, a hazy IPA by Baba Brewhouse in Brookshire, Texas. So I'm excited to try this because I have actually never had any beer by Baba Brewhouse. And I do see them get hyped up quite a bit. So I'm pretty excited to give this a shot.
Yeah, and we're going to do a double header for Baba today. You know, both our pregame and our podcast beers are both from Baba. And so the second one we're going to drink today is called Final Sin. Both of them are hazy IPAs. And Final Sin is actually a collab with Beer Zombies, and it has a little more interesting artwork going on that one. So I'm excited to drink it for the pictures, because that's what you do with beers now, right? You take a couple sips and then you take a fucking picture.
That's what it's all about.
And since we're talking about this beer resale market, Baba was a great choice because, you know, it's a little further out from where we live, but it's a super hyped brewery. They're known for having really good IPAs like we're drinking today, but that's not what gets the hype going. It's all about those fruited sours. They post a new fruited sour special release, and those beer mules are just lining up to snatch up as much as they can and sell out in a couple hours. And we would be drinking one of those fruited sours if it wasn't for Adam's bias against sours.
Don't get it. Never will, but that's all right.
You'll come around. Just give it time.
So with Baba Brewhouse beers being so hard to secure, how on earth did you get these beers?
So I found out they have a very regimented ordering system where you order on a Thursday and they have the drop time, and you put your order in and then you pick up on a Saturday, and they don't let you go in the brewery. They put you in an organized line and you drive through. And so I went in 2 hours out from when they opened it up, and I noticed that most of their sours were sold out. So I bought the sours that I could buy.
The crappy stuff.
Well, I don't think they make crappy sours. But then I bought all these IPAs, and then I went back that night and I was like, I'm just going to go look again just to see what else is sold out, because I was curious about the hype. And when I went back, those sours that were sold out at 2:30 in the afternoon were available at 8:30 p.m. at night.
Really?
I was trying to figure that out. I was like, was that a mistake or was that a strategy?
Did you put in a second order?
I did.
Well, I think you've answered your question.
I wasn't going home without those sours. So Brookshire is like over an hour from our house. And so it was kind of a deal for me to convince the family that we really needed to drive out there. So
how'd you do that? Walk me through that strategy there.
So I got on the phone and I was looking at the nearest parks around there. And so I was like, first I was trying to look at restaurants, but it's kind of past Katy, out in the middle of the boonies. So I settled on this park in Katy called the Mary Jo Peckham Park. And my first strategy was to get the kids all hyped up about it. I was like, oh, look at this pond and these ducks and this playground, and then get them hyped up enough. Then they'll convince my wife that that's a great idea, that we should go out there. It's all about centering your day around the kids' needs and beer. You can do both.
They're basically the same thing.
So back to this secret, underground, secondary beer market world that we're living in. The more I read about it, it just fascinates me. So on one hand, there's the non-nefarious side to this, where if someone has a rare beer on the East Coast, someone has one on the West Coast, they value those beers and they trade them on an equal trade to get really good beers somewhere where you couldn't get it. And some brewers actually like that they can get their beer to another state without having to go through the hurdles of getting licenses and, pay shipping to get it out there. So there's that one side to it, but that's not the fun side to talk about. I think we need to talk about the more nefarious side to that and the key players that are involved in this shadow organization. The people that buy bulk beer, those hot new releases, and then they go try to resell it on the market. And some people even try to make a living out of this. And so there's these whole sketchy websites and culture on how they distribute this beer out there.
It's just like way over my head. I just can't fathom making a living off of something like that.
It's crazy. Like you've been introduced to this resale market though, right? I mean, you had an attempt at buying a hype beer and you were thwarted. Do you want to tell this story?
All right. I do know what this is all about. And I got to say, in this game that we're talking about today, there are winners and there are losers. And I was recently a loser.
It's not the first time.
But it will be the last time. Okay, so how it all went down. So Parish Brewery was having like a 15th year anniversary? Or,
yeah.
Was it the 15th year? I can't remember.
I'm not sure. It's either the 10th or the 15th.
All of us love Ghost in the Machine. And so they had a
Holy Ghost.
Yeah. It's basically Ghost in the Machine on steroids. The most prized beer in the Southeast United States. So Drew and I were talking about it, and we were definitely going to try to get some. And then we had a couple of our other buddies that all of us were like trying to get in on it, and we were going to figure out the logistics of how to go get it and whatnot. So I set an alarm for noon, and so that's like when the sale opened, and it was pickup only, but you could get online and reserve your beer. So I had this guy who worked for me. He was retiring after like 32 and a half years with the company. And so like we're out to lunch celebrating his retirement, and like my alarm clock goes off, and like everyone's like, dude, why is your alarm clock going off? I'm like, I don't know what that's all about. And so,
I got to take medication.
Yeah. And so like I'm sitting there and I'm like, do I go to the bathroom and make this order, or like, let's wrap this up? And I'm like, waiter, we need the check. I got a meeting I got to go to. And so finally, like I get back to a place where I can make the order. It's like 12:08. And so I was reading some stuff on Facebook, and they were like, last time they had like one of these sales, it was available for like a day or two. So I'm like, okay, I'll probably be fine.
Yeah, 8 minutes.
8 minutes, I'm probably good.
Yeah.
Sure as shit, I'm screwed.
And not only that, but like we had friend of the show, Michael, also try to put in an order. And he tried to get in like 1 minute after it opened.
I mean, he was on his phone, on the website, hitting refresh. If you're on at noon and you can't get a fucking 4-pack, then it's not available to the general population.
It makes me wonder if there was like an inside channel like on the dark web that you could get in.
On the World Wide Web?
The dark web is like the secretive World Wide Web. This is a very secret episode. So what's crazy about that is like afterwards on the Houston Craft Beer Society, someone like posted a picture of their car loaded from freaking like front to back full of Holy Ghost. I'm like, how?
Motherfucker.
Yeah, it's like what? There's a secret. Like we haven't figured the secret out. That's why we're doing this episode, is we need to understand the dynamics behind.
We need to understand how you get into this game, because we are obviously on the outside looking in.
Yeah, if you know the secret to this, you got to tell us. You don't have to give your name. We'll value your secrecy, but we need to know the secret.
At least drop us a clue.
So since we don't know the secret, and we don't want to chalk it up to something boring like website problems, we're going to blame it all on the secondary beer market because it fits our episode better. So in the secondary beer market, it's not legal to sell beer across states, right? And so it's really done through these random Facebook groups. And there's this website, it's called My Beer Collectibles. And they basically say that they're selling you the glassware and the cans and not the beer itself. So it's like, oh, do you want to buy these empty Holy Ghost cans collectibles? So do you want to know what your Holy Ghost cost on the market on My Beer Collectibles right now?
Yes, I do. But we need to tell the audience, the original price was $25 for a 4-pack.
Okay.
Which was, it was kind of steep, but I would have paid a lot more for it.
Would you pay starting bid of $85 plus shipping?
Oh, man.
It's like a shot to the nuts.
Oh, it really is.
Yeah. It was crazy, like people have been hyped up about some of the Bourbon County specialty, maybe not the ones you can get at your grocery store, but some of the more specialty Bourbon counties. I saw one of those posted like a 3-bottle set for $450 on there. It's just like, who fucking does that?
No, it's like you can buy cocaine for cheaper.
What do you know about this?
So I've heard. But back to your original question, would I buy it for $85? The answer is absolutely no, because I will not support this behavior of people buying mass amounts of these short-term, one-time, limited releases. If I would support that, they'll never be available to everyday Joes like me and you.
So I think like there's some strategy to this. I'm not saying it's all Parish, because Parish does a lot of mass-produced beer, but some breweries get by with scarcity. They make a very scarce supply of something and it drives the value up because like it's economics. If it's not available, we want it. You know what I mean?
Oh, I know.
Like I want that beer 10 times more because you couldn't get it in 8 minutes on an online sale. It may not be any better than the beer we're drinking today.
If I was like the owner of Parish, I'd be sitting here and I'd be like, God damn it, I knew I priced that Holy Ghost too low. It's like $25 a 4-pack. It's like that's kind of a lot for your direct sales. But it's like, well, it's gone before the first minute. It's like, God damn it. It's like, I knew I should have gone $40 at 4-pack.
Just keep pushing it higher.
I know.
See how much, until people just get fed up and give up on them.
But will they?
I don't know. So the other thing on this beer culture is they have these Facebook groups, and like the concept, you'll see them and they'll say ISO-FT, and it means in search of or for trade. So you offer up a beer. So let's say you're on the West Coast. You're like, I've got 3 Pliny the Elders, and I'm looking for some Baba sours, and they'll do a trade, which seems fair, right? But there's some weird trades out there that I've learned about where people are trading some things that are not beer.
That sounds a little sketchy.
Yeah, it's not prostitution.
It's like that is the only thing that is in my mind right now. It's still like you better provide more details.
Yeah, in search of Pliny the Elder, for trade, the back alley. So no, what's really funny is there's this person on Instagram, Hayes Boys, and they do a lot of beer memes and other things that are pretty hilarious. I follow, and they like posting these really bizarre trades. And some of the most bizarre ones that he's posted on there are like someone trading beer for Wagyu beef, or someone trading beer for a COVID-19 vaccine.
That is weird.
It's pretty entertaining. You got to check it out because I can't even do it justice, but there's some really fucking weird trades out there. What would you trade for a Pliny the Elder?
Are you questioning my integrity right now?
Yes. I gotta get that new release, man. All right, so we got just one last topic to cover before we rate these beers. We brewed beer for the first time ever.
It was an exhilarating experience.
So we got a kit from Northern Brewing, and we're going to not talk too much about it because we've got a future podcast episode where we will feature this topic. But we got in the kitchen and we brewed up some fucking beer today.
And we were grinding. I mean, I'm confident that this is going to be arguably the best beer that's ever been brewed.
It's a pretty high bar that you have set for us.
I always make fun of Drew because he's like so planned and organized. And of course, we had to brew the beer at his house because I knew he'd want to be fucking checking on it every 2 seconds. So my over-under is 3 times that he's checked on the beer. Where are we at as we sit here 6 hours after the beer has been put in the fermenter?
I have checked on the beer exactly 2 times. So proved you wrong.
Okay. And so of those 2 check-ins on the beer, how have you benefited from checking on it those 2 times?
I think the fermentation process has accelerated in my presence. It's kind of like when you have a plant and you need to talk to that plant. You're like, you coax it on growing. Like, that's me in the beer. I was like, hey, you can do it. Positive thoughts, man. That's going to bring that ABV up.
Was there any noticeable difference? And did you tell your wife that like now a room in your house is no longer part of your house and it's part of Beer and Easy Podcast, the official brewing fermenting room?
I mean, we did name the office the lab for the podcast, and so that's now the cellar.
So tell me about the concern your wife had about the beer exploding.
So I asked her, I was like, hey, Meredith, can I store the beer in a closet in the house? And she's like, yeah, you can do that as long as they don't explode. And I said, I can't make any promises. It was Adam and I. We're engineers. I think there's a possibility that we probably overcomplicated and over-engineered this process.
All right. So at this point, everyone is definitely getting sick of listening to our bullshit.
Let's bring on those ratings. All right, so remind y'all, we are drinking beers from Brewhouse in Brookshire, Texas. So Adam, you want to remind them what we're drinking?
Okay, so the first beer is Pixel. It's a hazy IPA coming in at 7.3% alcohol. Drew, what is the second beer?
Second beer is Final Sin, also a hazy IPA. And this one is a collaboration with Beer Zombies. Let's start with Pixel. Like, what are your thoughts about Pixel?
I thought it had pretty typical hazy IPA smell. I guess the only thing that would differentiate like from what I'm used to smelling on like a cloudy, thick, hazy IPA is it had like a little more pineapple smell. Did you get any of that?
I didn't get pineapple on the Pixel, but I did notice that you really noted the hazy IPA flavor there.
I mean, how else do you describe this bastard?
It's tough, man. I just got hoppy citrus. It was a little grassy. I don't know. That's about, it had a little bit of hot bite, but not a ton of hot bite.
I thought the hops were much more subtle than what I was expecting.
Yeah.
I thought the citrus was strong. I did not get a pineapple flavor, but I got the pineapple smell. So I thought that was a little different.
You know what's funny is like you mentioned the pineapple. I didn't get pineapple at all on that beer, but when I opened up the Final Sin, I got a lot of pineapple on the nose and a little bit on the taste. So I definitely got more pineapple on the second one.
Yeah, I on Final Sin, I got pineapple nose and I got pineapple taste. Talk me through your Final Sin flavor profile. What were you?
This one definitely had a lot more hot bite to it. Like it burned a little bit when you drank it, which told me that, give it a little bit of time and this one's going to be a pretty badass beer.
Yeah.
I did get a lot of pineapple and a little transparent. I don't have much else. What do you have?
Yeah, so I thought I had a little lighter mouthfeel. To be honest, overall, I thought the beers were kind of similar.
As we're learning about beer, like the one common hop type. So the first beer we drank from Pixel was Revolution, Galaxy, and Mosaic hops. And the Final Sin was Galaxy and then this experimental Brew 1 hops. The commonality is the Galaxy. And there's a lot of folks that say Galaxy hops bring on that pineapple flavor. So I think that may explain why the similarities that you're getting on those two.
Interesting. So I have 2 questions for you. Question number 1. Of these 2 beers, which is your favorite?
I felt like they were very similar. I'd probably give the edge to the Pixel right now because it's a little smoother.
I think like right this second, Pixel has the edge, but it literally could not be any closer. I'm real curious to try Final Scent in a month because I think it will be better in a month once it's had a chance to mellow out a tad.
I like that experiment. So Untappd ratings, I'm guessing that's your second question. So
yes, sir.
So I'm going to spin it back to you. What are your Untappd ratings for these 2 beers?
4.0, both of them.
Hey, that's what I'm going to go. 4.0. 4x4.
4x4. You heard it here first.
Heck yeah.
So as we wrap up this episode, we have a really interesting next episode.
Yes, we do.
As you all know, I'm always, running, trying to be fit. And so I thought it was only appropriate for us to have a beer playoff for our next episode, New Year's style. Of all of the low-cal IPAs. And we are going to let y'all know, as everyone's trying to trim up after the holidays, what is the go-to low-cal IPA playoff style?
The ultimate New Year's resolution.
The ultimate New Year's resolution. So it'll be a lot of fun. Y'all need to tune in. Until we see you next time, take care. Happy New Year.
This has been a Beering Ain't Easy production in Houston, Texas. Follow us on Facebook or Instagram. And if you want to see what we're drinking, our Untappd handles are Beering Ain't Easy Adam and Beering Ain't Easy Drew.